It's for a title of a new book. I kind of like it. Generation of Sociopaths, How the Baby Boomers Betrayed America. Okay? I kind of like that.
We'll get
got some oomph to it, hasn't it? There's the guy who wrote it. His name is Bruce Cannon Gibney. Bruce, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on.
I am a baby boomer. What have I done wrong? Spell out the faults of my generation. Go.
Well, indeed, you haven't done anything wrong. My argument is about American baby boomers who were raised in a time of what seemed like them to be effortless prosperity, and that sort of conditioned them to believe that you didn't have to invest in the future, that you could simply consume, and that's undermined the foundations of prosperity. We see this in everything from net infrastructure investment being 0 to 0.5% of GDP. We see it in a massive increase in the federal debt, which was 34% of GDP on a gross basis when I was born in the 1970s, and is now 105% of GDP, projected to exceed its World War II levels in the 2030s. And so on down the line. Yeah. And that has translated into much lower economic growth, and people are unhappy about that.
That's what it... Look, to me, this is a financial program. To me, the future of America and solving America's problems is all about growth. Growth leads to prosperity, which is the glue that binds us all together. You are making a very conservative argument.
I'm making a sort of 1950s Republican argument in a way, right? And arguably they're more liberal, the 1950s Republicans, than modern Democrats are. But both modern parties are fiscally sort of radical in the sense they have not cared at all about investment, and they've only cared about spending, and that spending has redounded overwhelmingly to the favor of the baby boomers. And even tax policy, which people have perceived as benefiting the top 1 to 5%, has overwhelmingly flowed to the baby boomers, who do constitute a large portion of the rich, but the rich have paid an increasing share of taxes, while the boomer middle class has paid a decreasing share of taxes. And that has been translated into the federal debt, which my generation will have to bear. And that's fine if it had produced higher growth, but it hasn't.
Right, exactly. Would you say that President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, they're baby boomers? Are they typical of the politics of that generation?
Clinton and Bush certainly are. Trump is as well. Obama is culturally different, and I exclude him from my analysis. He's born at the tail end of the boom, raised in a different part of the United States. I don't focus on the minority experience because it's so radically different. So his assumptions were much different than, say, Trump's were, or than Bush 2's were, or even than Clinton's were. But
well, wait a second. Why is it unique to American baby boomers?
So the phenomenon is most strong in the United States. The booms are smaller in the other Anglophone countries in Western Europe, and so the policies have been less dramatically boomer skewed. So Canada is the most proximate and arguably is the most boomerish. The UK is somewhat boomerish. I think Brexit was in part a boomer phenomenon. But the boom is largest and most powerful in the United States, in part because the boomers united around a single issue, and this is what gives them such enormous political power and causes such economic problems, and that's the maintenance of old age benefits in the United States, which are not sustainable as is. And this is not just a Republican talking point or Democratic talking point. It's the opinion of the Social Security Administration, the Medicare trustees themselves.
Yes, but this large group of people, the baby boomers, as we progress through the population, we vote. And we're not going to vote to cut the entitlements which we feel, not me, but which my generation feels entitled to. We are setting up a monumental problem down the road.
That's right. It will start manifesting no later than 2034 when the Social Security Trust Fund is exhausted. CBO is projecting 2029. At that point, people who are not in the system, I suspect politically that everyone who is on the rolls will be grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Automatically, under the law, benefits will fall between 16 and 27% over time. So the return for my generation will probably be close to 1.2, trending down to 1.0 to 1. For boomers, on a same dollar basis, inflation-adjusted basis, they're going to take out $1.53 for each dollar they put in. So the thing that's important to remember for younger people when they're considering these programs is Social Security is not purely a return of capital. It is $1 is return of capital, and 53 cents is functionally it's welfare. And we can decide as a matter of empathy that that's appropriate, but we have to pay for it. And the boomers didn't pay for it, so this is really, in a sense, an act of social charity. Not opposed to that, but we need to understand exactly what it is.
You're a conservative, aren't you? You may reject the label, but you're a conservative.
You know, actually, I think I'm fairly progressive, but on the fiscal side, I do believe in climate change. Certainly on an expected value basis, this is something that we should be doing about, right? Because the potential costs are very high, even if you think the probability is low. On an expected value basis, financier, you just pay for it.
Okay. Do you like raw, naked capitalism that brings out the animal spirits, that grows the economy, where profit is not a dirty word, where the rich can get richer, if so be it? You approve of that? You don't. You're just like a baby boomer.
Here's the deal. I think that our job in finance, and I was in finance for most of my career, is to play according to the rules. And I think it's Washington's job to set an appropriate set of rules for us to adhere to that allows the game to be both fun and profitable for everyone. Because in the end, if the game is perceived to be rigged, we won't be allowed to play anymore.
Lower taxes, less government. You on with that? You on board with that?
That would be a nice place to get
Bruce,
to. We can't get to that right now because the fiscal situation in this country does not permit the continued low taxation of the baby boomer generation. So, you know,
low taxation?
For the baby boomers, yes. So, I mean, this is why you've seen politically heterodox things like Reagan raising the capital gains tax in the 80s when the boomers didn't have capital income and lowering on personal income, and why Clinton lowered the capital gains tax and expanded the housing exemption in the 90s, which was heterodox for a Democrat, as the boomers. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it works.
You did so well to start with, and then you really blew it at the very end. God, what's the name of the book again?
A Generation of Sociopaths. But if you want to get to a low-tax environment, you're going to have to deal with the fiscal situation first. Because in the end, if the deficit blows up, if Social Security tilts over, if Medicare is not brought under control, what you are certainly going to end up with is civil strife or an enormous tax increase.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're going to get an enormous tax increase from the left anyway. That's exactly how they will tackle Social Security and Medicare. That's what they will do. Bruce,
that's certainly true, but Medicare Part D.
Totally out of time.
Bush too.
You can abuse my generation. All right, Bruce Cannon Gibney. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.